and welcome to the Daily Space Weather. I'm your host, Dan, aka Smash-O-Mash. And when we talk about space weather, we're talking about the environment between Earth and space. And so we've got to look at both scenarios. We have to look at both the sun and the Earth. Here's the last 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from space. And what is scaled in this model here is nanopascals, which is magnetohydrodynamic pressure. And things are pretty chill here at the moment. It's a fairly nominal solar wind and so on. We'll get to the data on that. Sunspots, coronal holes, and lots more momentarily. So welcome to space. Welcome to our space weather videos. These are the data sets that I decided I wanted to look at a few years ago when we started doing our daily space weather videos. Here's Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. And it took us months to figure out exactly what to even include in the daily space weather videos, because what is space weather? A lot of people not aware, but things are getting a little more important in the realm of space with things like space tourism and so on. That's the last 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from the ground in nanotesla, magnetic flux density. Geomagnetism, an average of it, is the KP index, the planetary K index, pegged here at 3 for the past about 12 hours. And let's look at the real-time solar wind. This is measured at Lagrangian point 1, a gravitational equilibrium point about 1 million miles toward the sun from the Earth, measured by at the moment here by the Discover, which orbits that gravitational equilibrium point at Lagrange point 1. Keep in mind that is, again, 1 million miles away, quite far out in space. And currently it's showing us about 10 protons per cubic centimeter for the solar wind density. Solar wind speed about 421 kilometers per second. 421, the same as the date. An easy number to remember there. Let's take a look at the heliospheric current sheet. And Earth remains in a North Pole current sheet. So I'm very surprised on this. This is quite a strange thing. It could indicate degradation of the massive sunspots 2993 and 2994. But we'll just have to wait and see, because the magnetic environment can change with basically no warning. But that's what's going on at the moment. Earth remains in a North Pole current sheet. Next are GOES magnetometers. Seeing quite low readings here. Making it all the way down to 30 nanotesla there on the GOES magnetometers. GOES magnetometers are measured by the GOES 16 and 17, which have a geosynchronous near equatorial orbit. They're at about 12,000 miles of altitude. And we see a divergence happening here at the moment. The GOES 16 getting a higher measurement and the GOES 16 getting a lower measurement at roughly the same time. And for you new viewers, the N's and M's, they stand for noon and midnight local time for the satellites. So here's your line of sight heliospheric current sheet view. And yeah, we could see some activity in the southern hemisphere also. So don't be surprised to see a sunspot form in the southern hemisphere or degradation of sunspots in the northern hemisphere. I can tell because I immerse myself in the data. Next, we'll look at coronal holes. Here's 193 angstroms ionized iron. And most of the SDO AIA frequencies are ionized iron. 193 angstroms is great at showing coronal holes. Let's check the polarity of this coronal hole. I think it's North Pole oriented. And indeed it is. We've got some South Pole coronal holes that are about to rotate in over here as well. They're just not so visible because the corona is very bumpy. And all those big bumps in the corona that are not super evident when viewing it from this perspective are covering up those coronal holes. The magnetometer data is not incorrect. They're just not visible yet, so those will become visible soon. They are South Pole oriented. And they're quite far up toward the equator there. So what you're watching there is the progression of solar cycle 25. You can see the North Pole migrating to the south, and the South Pole doing likewise to the north. Perhaps the most important feature in a solar cycle, perhaps even more important than sunspots, which is what we'll cover next. So likelihood of major flare is still very high. We did see an M 9.6 class flare. We'll get to it momentarily. Anyway, that's your detected sunspot groups and solar flare probability imagery for your convenience. And now we'll look at sunspots visually in 1700 angstroms, another part of the extreme ultraviolet spectrum. I forgot to put it on loop. There we go. And it looked like there was a huge filament migration happening there. That was pretty weird. If you look down here in the southern hemisphere, not sure what was up with that. Looks like it was some movement from the SDO, frankly. Pretty strange there. Probably an SDO maneuver if I had to guess, as we see that shaking going on. It wasn't the sun shaking, it was the Solar Dynamics Observatory. So here's a close-up of these insane active regions. I think they may be degrading a bit, folks, so sorry to say, for all of you who were hoping to see a Carrington event and see the end of all civilization for an extended period of time because of power grids going out for months on end and a Walking Dead situation, it's looking less likely to happen. Keep in mind, we're also less likely to see major flares unless the sunspots are on the limb. We've seen lots of data to support that just in the past week or so. Anyway, there's a great close-up for you of those series of sunspot groups. Did you know we're also on BitChute? We're approaching 700 subscribers over there. Yesterday's meteorology segment was a BitChute exclusive. Perhaps check that out. We are also, in order to become sustainable, we've created our own website because in 2019, following pathetic censorship on Facebook in 2018, we decided to launch smashamash.com, and just last October, we launched the Smash Team. So please support us by becoming a member of the Smash Team at the gold or silver or even the gold annual paid up subscription level. It's the best value. Click on Smash Team on the homepage. You can also find our merch. Today's featured merch is the Mansa products, which stands for Make America Not Suck Again. There's the design. Since America leads the way, yeah, inflation is bad, but inflation in other fiat currencies is worse. It's still the best place to invest. Our finest days lie ahead. So please make America not suck again. And tell your friends and foes about it. Perhaps pick up some merch. We are also on Twitter. If you don't have a Twitter account, get a Twitter account. If you use social media at all, twitter.com/smashamash. You'll see stuff nobody else sees. You'll get all kinds of insight from all kinds of people who are coming out of the woodwork to talk about the sun. We probably won't even find ourselves banned from Twitter, as I know where to draw the line. We've also been streaming regularly live to Twitch, twitch.tv/smashamash. We already streamed one today. Again, most importantly, consider becoming a member of the Smash Team. You can find links to all of our videos. Each day we post all of our video content in one convenient location. So smashamash.com/smashteam is our replacement for Patreon. You can still donate via Patreon and PayPal if you like, but the additional content is available at smashamash.com/smashteam. So here's this flare we were talking about. It was a M 9.6. Peak flux was just before 2 o'clock this morning at about 1:50 Universal Time. It didn't cause any relativistic particles to show up, at least not yet. And here is the 94 angstroms wavelength. Interesting feature about this one is it was like a simul flare. We saw a flare on that sunspot in the southwest, as well as this one up in the northeast. So a little bit of simul flare action going on there. And let's move on. Here's your star chart. We like to show it daily for the sake of astrography. This is what's going on above my head. We're located in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, Smash Staff and I. And if you're up before dawn, you may see this lovely pile up here. The Moon, Saturn, Mars, Venus, and Jupiter all rising ahead of the Sun. The yellow line is the ecliptic. The blue line is the galactic plane. Cygnus is getting pretty high in the sky. Where were you the last time Deneb set? The tail of the swan. It may be more important than you realize. And we will be talking about the tail of the swan, the brightest intrinsic object visible from our solar system, Deneb, otherwise known as Cygnus X3. Say hello to its little friend. Here's a solar system forecast. This is where heavenly bodies are currently located. Let's advance this 1 week. There's where things will be in a week. Approaching another new moon, my favorite phase, and shout out to all of our reverse werewolves who sleep well at night, don't cannibalize people, and are good, kind, sober, moral members of society. Last but not least, we'll show some coronagraphs. It looks all clear from Stereo A and the Soho Lasco C3. No significant coronal mass ejections, period. And certainly none directed toward the Earth. So a little bit of minor ejecta here on the Soho Lasco C3. Those are well off to the west of planet Earth. And that's about where we'll have to close out this video. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to space. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. Press like, subscribe, share, etc. Tell your friends and foes about us as I sign off from the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. And may that solar wind be at your back.